This was my newest project. My friend from college, so years ago I met her. Her mother had this little cute coffee table that always was next to her father while he did his crossword puzzles. So I was visiting her mother, and she mentioned that she really wished this little coffee table would look better and not be so wobbly. Well, one of the legs was about a half an inch out of its socket, and I said, hey, I probably could fix it. Here is the top of it. You can see it's been well loved. And so her daughter brought it to me and said, hey, here it is. And I said, great. I'm showing you here all the different kinds of wood that was there and also the condition. And I'm really happy that I do the befores, because sometimes the afters, I think to myself, oh, did I mess it up? And no, this needed a lot of help. So here it is before. And I brought it out to my garage and it was freezing, literally. So I put my little heater on. You can see that's the problem. The leg was out too far. What I didn't realize, I don't know why, is that the wood that is horizontal, the support, not the top, but the support is a little bit warped. So the first thing I did is I took all of the pieces apart. I unscrewed the 4 screws. I then boiled some hot water. Now, I've heard there are many ways to get off old glue. But what I did is I boiled hot water, and then I got a towel or a rag I was no longer using. And you can put the towel over the area that you want it to soften up. And then you wait for about a minute, and magically the wood comes out. Now, this is a very old piece of furniture, so the glue is very old, and I think somebody tried to fix it in the past, so there were some glue drips. However, you can see, I did not make you watch this whole thing, but I'd say probably about a minute, and then this softens right up. So on the left-hand side, you can kind of see how the leg is not attached to the bottom, and that's where the warp is. Now, I did use some really heavy-duty gloves because the water was literally boiling and it was too hard to touch with my hands. But you can see the steam coming off, so it is still really cold. Now, I was very gentle. After I loosened this up, I went back very carefully because I do not want to break anything. And that is why I kind of like finding furniture on the street, because it's already garbage. So if I do anything bad, nobody will care. This is a loved piece of furniture, so I wanted to make sure everything was fine. Now, I did label the parts, and you can see the condition that the wood was in. The parts that did not come apart easily, I left them together because I did not want to make more of a mess. Now, after I cleaned everything up, I scraped all the old glue, and then I used this tool to get all of the glue off in the leg holes. And then I also used a piece of sandpaper that was 80 grit to go inside all the little slots like that right there. If you put glue into old glue, it does not hold very well. So you want wood glue to go from wood to wood. So it's very important to get all of the old stuff off. My dad, luckily, had this lovely tool, so I got to use that, and it makes life so much easier. If you ever watch dog grooming or cat grooming shows, they actually use this kind of tool to trim pets' nails, which I find very interesting. It's a very easy tool to use, and this has a sandpaper bit on it. Yeah, looks pretty nice. Okay, now I love Minwax gel stain. I know there's a lot of different companies. When you put the hot steamy water, it can discolor the stain. So it does kind of turn it a milky kind of gray color, which is no problem. I very finely, I think it was 400 grit sandpaper. I gave it all a very gentle sand, and then I put the gel stain over all of the main pieces. So you can see it looks really great, I think. Now I've moved to the basement because I have a tenant and he doesn't like the smell of the stain. I don't think it's a big smell, but anyway, I moved it to the basement. Also, it's a lot warmer down there. So I am gluing all the pieces that were not already together, and then I used a hammer that has a rubber mallet, I guess, and then I make sure that I use a nice cloth so that it doesn't leave any marks on the wood. And yes, that red carpet has been in the basement since we moved into the house. I think it was 1975. It's so ugly. And the best thing, in my opinion, is to let the glue dry for about 24 hours if you want it to be really sturdy. So here's the glue that I always keep in a little baby jar. It's a lot easier to use than those big containers that the company gives you. So here I am putting it together bit by bit, and you can see the pretty stain. I just love it. Okay, so now after I put it together, I can see the top is pretty ugly. It's very well loved. And so I'm using the mahogany color of the gel stain, and I'm very gently putting it on. And for this, I just put it on. I wait for maybe about a minute, and then I take it off. Here, I am sanding with 400 grit sandpaper, you can see, and I'm going with the grain. There are 3 different colors. So to figure out what those colors were, first I gently sanded, and then I wiped it off with a damp cloth. And when it is wet, you can see the original colors of the wood. I believe this is a walnut color, and the veneer is put on in a different way. So it's very nice to sand this with your hand. That way you can go the grain of the wood. And I believe the inside was kind of a not red mahogany. So I think there are 3 colors. There's the red mahogany, that's the stripe. There's the walnut, which are the big pieces. And then the little flower in between, I think, is just a regular mahogany. You can see some of the rings. Someone put their coffee cups or something down, or teacups. So now this is just water. I'm just taking off the dust, the sand dust. And I also see that there are some little cracks. And normally I wouldn't care so much, not cracks, but chips. But they're very sharp. So after I clean this all up, I use Kwik Wood with a K. And I filled these all in, so that way they were smooth to the touch. And then I just used the regular Minwax to fill it all in. So I first used the red mahogany on the stripes, and I used a paintbrush, and I tried very carefully not to get out of the lines. So here's the little tiny paintbrush I used. Then I used the not red mahogany in the middle, and then I used the walnut on the 4 parts. So 2 of them were done. Here it is before I did anything to it. Here it is after. I used the same amount of stain on all of the different parts of the wood. I do see that one looks a little bit lighter, but that's just the way the wood is. Nothing to do with me. After I finished, I put some Howard Feed and Wax all over the piece of furniture. That's before. Once again, I love before and afters. And here's after. Isn't that delicious? All right, thank you so much for watching, and subscribe if you haven't, and have a great day.
Projects with Paula. Subscribe.